Welcome back to another episode of FPL Hive, and today we are going to be looking at Tyrone's team selection. And I'll be honest, Ty might need a bit of help because he's on a completely different strategy to a lot of people in and around the community. But before we get started, make sure you guys like the video, comment your thoughts on Tyrone's team. Any questions you have, drop them down below, and make sure you guys share the video and turn the notification bell on because that's what you lot need to start doing. But let's get started. So let's start with the keepers, Tyrone. You've gone with Sanchez and Dubravka, a £5 million keeper and a £4 million keeper. Explain it for us.
Yeah, do you know what? It's been something I've been tossing and turning with because I've had Sells in and I've had Sanchez in. Dubravka's definitely a lock-in, by the way. A £4 million keeper going to Burnley. We know that he's going to start games. As simple as that. My reason doesn't have to be long. He's going to start games. He's going to get save points. Burnley will have some games at home where I think they might potentially get a clean sheet. So he can be there at 4 million. 5 million for Sanchez. I'm going off more their pre-season. They've conceded, I think, max 2 goals in their pre-season games. They're looking pretty solid. They're looking to bring in another centre-back on top of the injury to Levi Colwill. And I just think with Caicedo there in midfield, potentially Lavia as well, they have got some protection. And Chelsea are not a team that are renowned for conceding a lot of goals. And I think in terms of the output, it could be Cucurella if you're putting a defender in. If it wasn't, I think the second best option for me is Sanchez. He's going to start. They haven't signed another keeper. And we rock on from there, fingers crossed.
Was there any thought of yours to go down to a £4.5 million keeper? Some people have obviously a Keller in goal.
I think Brentford could struggle, for example. I looked at the 4.5s. Brentford, I think, could struggle. He's one of their better options. I've seen also Petrovic is a 4.5 keeper gone to, obviously, Bournemouth. But you look at Bournemouth, the loss of Zabani, the loss of Kirkez, the loss of Huijsen. They're going to be going through a change themselves, even though they're bringing in Diakite from Lille. But I just rather go with a £5 million keeper that I think is stable. I think Chelsea's pre-season and the back of the Club World Cup is just going to give me a bit more confidence that, you know what, he's going to be a steady Eddie. So I don't think there's a real nailed-on goalkeeper, but I believe that Sanchez is going to be one of the higher-owned goalkeepers alongside maybe a Matt Sells from Nottingham Forest. So, yeah, I'm not really too focused on the keeper front. I just think I want to get someone in there that I don't have to make a transfer, and I call it wasting a transfer.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on to your defenders. Now your defenders. You've gone with Van der Ven, Nico Williams, Virgil van Dijk has the 6 million defender, Konza, and then obviously the Burnley centre-back that I think everyone has. Let's start with Van der Ven. I've seen a lot of people within the community have him. Explain your reasoning, Tyrone.
Yeah, firstly, guaranteed to play most games if he stays fit. You know, Spurs are in the Champions League now, so I think Danso is going to be used more for that, even though they've signed him permanently. But I think their bread and butter is Romero and Van der Ven. I think Romero's just been made captain as well of the football club, which is a very interesting move, giving him that authority. But we know with Van der Ven and the defensive points as well that I believe he's going to be making a lot of recovery runs. So that means a lot of challenges that are going to be probably high on the radar, contributions physically in the air as well, with his pace. And I feel like you look at Spurs' fixtures, and yes, every fixture in the Premier League is potentially difficult, but they've got a kinder run than teams like Man United, teams like Arsenal, for example. You look at their first game, Burnley at home, you could say on paper that's a clean sheet. Yes, they've got City away, but after that, Bournemouth at home, West Ham away, Brighton away. I think Bournemouth at home and West Ham away, you could potentially start him. Wolves at home, Leeds away. So when you're looking at the first 7 game weeks, which is, you know, you've got options of a wild card, you've got options of a free hit, transfers and stuff. You've got more chips to use this year. I think Van der Ven is one of them players that I could keep in at 4.5 million for at least them 7 games. And then it gives me time to analyze. 4.5 is not cheap, but it's also not expensive. There will be players I can replace him with if it doesn't work out. But I think for that option of Thomas Frank coming in, who we know is Premier League proven, I'm happy to roll the dice with Van der Ven and hope that his defensive contributions help him get more points.
Nico Williams, I think a lot of people have him. Do you have any concerns? Potentially, Nottingham Forest are looking at signing another left back. We've seen Leif Davies linked, Shimmikas from Liverpool linked. What do you think of that?
That is what I'm going to keep an eye on. If they do get a Leif Davis, if they do get a Shimmikas, I think it's an easy change to Ola Aina. The only weakness with Ola Aina is I don't believe in terms of the whole contribution package, he might be high up there. I know that he has got some goals. He has got some assists towards the end of last season, but I'd be more banking on Forest getting clean sheets rather than Ola Aina getting points. As I feel like Nico Williams gives you something going forward. He gives you something defensively, but it looks like they're more set on Aina than they are Nico Williams. So I think He's in there for now, but don't be surprised if that's a last minute change or a game week 2, game week 3 alternative move, because I am worried that they're going to get a left back, and I think Forest need a left back, if I'm honest. Virgil van Dijk's the one I'm very stuck on. Like, if I had to roll the dice and say Van Dijk, I've swapped him, Nori, even another, I've even got Milenkovic. That is the one. If my whole team, when we're going through it today, which people will see on this video, I'm so torn on. He's in the centre-back situation at the moment in this team. He is the main central defender at Liverpool. He's a set-piece threat. But I am worried about Liverpool and them conceding goals. This could be a season where Liverpool win a lot of games, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2. I don't see them winning a lot of 2-0s and 3-0s. I think they're going to be high with the fullbacks, Frimpong, Kirkes, leaving space for Konate and Van Dijk to be exposed at times. So I'm looking at Van Dijk as being more a set-piece threat, goal-scoring wise, rather than clean sheets. But if he's not scoring, is he expensive, Bain, for 6 million? That is my question that I've got to ask myself, and even ask you if you're doing this with me.
I think the question marks will be on your other 6 million defenders. Nori, we all know Pep Roulette, Gavardio could easily play left back, Ake could easily play left back. But at the same time, we saw what he done at Wolves, in it. So there is a part of me that I think potentially Nori could be a great shout. I think
Gavardio could be a great shout.
Yeah, especially if you play centre back, you know how good he is with the bonus point system for that, with passes completed and stuff. I think another thing, I've seen a lot of people in the communities with different teams and stuff, innit? One thing I think a lot of people are avoiding is Arsenal defenders. Like, Arsenal are the best defence in the Premier League, innit? And I think how many teams have you seen with a Gabriel or a Saliba?
But it's none, because the first 6 games people are scared of.
Yeah, but then would you not say the exact same thing for Virgil van Dijk for the first 3 games now? Because the first game is Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. You expect Liverpool to win. From an offensive point of view, they're going to score goals without a weak Bournemouth defensively. Yeah, but Bournemouth offensively could easily score goals.
Yeah, Semenyo,
Evan Nielsen. They've got threats. So that's something where I think a lot of people probably are a bit iffy on in Virgil van Dijk kind of thing. I think the one I'm probably most interested about is Konza, 4.5. I'm surprised you've gone with him.
I think Villa, a team that can keep clean sheets. I think they're robust, they're mechanical. Unai Emery's been there for a few years now. I feel like he's just one of them players that I think he's actually getting better and better. And I know it's not an individual game in football, it's a team game, but I feel like with Konsa and having him there under Aston Villa, I think it helps me a lot with the middle game weeks in the early on in the season. I'm looking at sort of game weeks 3 to 7. They've got Crystal Palace at home, Everton away, Sunderland away, Fulham home, Burnley home. Now, Aston Villa will be looking at least getting minimum 2 clean sheets out of 5 in them games. And having a Villa player in there who's going to start, which is Ezri Konsa, I think it's valuable. And towards the end of the season, Baines, before we even started this channel, and, we were doing last season, right? He was popping up with a few little goals here and there, and me and you were buzzing because we were like, Konsa, do you know what I mean? He's cheap and cheerful. So I'm going for him for the 3 to 7 game weeks. And I think in that period there, Villa should be picking up clean sheets, and hopefully he can get some bonus points as well.
I think there's a couple of 4.5 millions that interest me.
Who would you look at as an alternative?
I think Joachim Anderson from Fulham. I think he rates very highly with the defensive contribution system. I think last season, in 31% of his games that he played, he would have got 4+ points, which I think is very useful just in terms of raising the team's floor. I think Juve at West Ham offensively could be a very good
offensively.
Great opening day fixture as well. I think I'm also looking at Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. He rates very highly on the defensive contribution system again. So that's something where we know he's pretty much going to play most games for Crystal Palace in the back 3. Could that be an interesting shout? But then at the same time, we've seen rumours with Gray leaving. How are Palace going to be affected defensively? That's another question.
I think they could struggle. Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see much issues with your team structure defensively, innit? And then Estev, or however you say
well, he's at the Bravka, £4 million player. He's going to play. And I suppose we move on to what everyone wants to see, the big midfield.
Tyrone's midfielders. This is where I think everyone's going to be like, wow, what are you doing, Tyrone? Or they're going to be like, you know what, fair play, you're taking a big risk. First of all, no Salah. You've doubled up on the Liverpool midfield with Wirtz and Gakpo, partnered up with Palmer. You went with Marlon as your 5.5, which we'll touch on because I think that's very interesting. And then I'm guessing Aaron Ramsey is just a placeholder at 4.5 from Burnley.
Yep.
So,
Placeholder.
Tyrone.
We'll put that to the side. Aaron Ramsey, placeholder. No Salah. Big from me. Big from other players that are choosing to not go with Salah, the most consistent player in FPL. But I think, guys, if we're ever going to take a risk, the risk is now. The risk is now. So I'm going to go with no Salah. And the reason is because the Gakpo's price point, 7.5, I think, for a Liverpool attacker is brilliant. The way they're going to play at the moment, the fullbacks pushing up high. Gakpo is a very good inside forward. We've seen him score goals for PSV. We've seen him score goals from that angle for Liverpool. It's going to now enable him to get into that position. And he's had a good preseason so far. So I look at Gakpo as a sharpshooter. We know he can score goals. We know he can finish. Florian Wirtz, well, if you sign someone for 110 million plus, you are going to be starting games. So I think them two combined together are going to get points. We already seen Wirtz's projected defensive contribution points as well. He looks like he's quite high on there. So that's also going to add to his marker. And I think the reason I'm now... Exactly. And the reason I'm going to deviate away from Salah is because for me, Salah is obviously going to score goals. We all know that. But someone is going to have to assist Salah. Someone is going to have to play the ball to Salah. And yes, it could not be Wirtz or Gakpo, but the high probability is Wirtz is going to be getting a lot of creativity points. Maybe potentially for Salah on that right-hand side. The other option is teams are looking at Salah so much. For example, Crystal Palace on the weekend in the Community Shield. And Gakpo is going to be that guy who is the forgotten man. He's going to be freed up. And I think having both of them two together could potentially secure me as many points, if not more, than what Salah can give me. And I think at the price point, which we'll get to a bit later on, and my reasons for not picking Salah, is why I've gone with Wirtz and Gakpo. Again, Cole Palmer, proofs in the pudding. You know, Chelsea are playing very well. Chelsea are scoring. Chelsea are creating chances. Cole Palmer on a projected price point for this year is very high. He's on penalties as well. He's guaranteed 90 minutes. I just think you're going to create yourself a bit more problems if you don't have him rather than if you have him and you're like, it's not working out. He's easy to remove at the price point of 10.5 million. So I really like them three as a trio. I think they're guaranteed starts. Cody Gakpo, I'm not worried about his minutes unless Isak comes in. Wirtz is going to play. Cole Palmer's going to play. My 5.5 midfielder is Daniel Marlon. Now, if anyone has watched him at Borussia Dortmund, he can play on the right, he can play on the left, he can play up top. We've now seen Jacob Ramsey leave Aston Villa for Newcastle, and that has made my point on Daniel Marlon even stronger. They signed Yves Gossoin from Nice, and he's going to be a very good player, by the way, once he starts and gets his rhythm going. But now this frees up Daniel Marlon to play on the right, Daniel Marlon to play on the left, and also when Watkins comes off, he can also play in the striking position. So Daniel Marlon is a nailed-on starter for Aston Villa, coming off the back of 5 goals in pre-season. He has been their best performer in attacking stats department this pre-season. What I'm going to say is this. He has played himself into a starting 11 spot. If he plays himself out of it, he can be removed. There's Reinders, there's other Anderson, there's other 5.5 million players that earlier in the season you can catch. But right now, for the goals and the assists and the performances he's done in pre-season, he is nailed on to start. And with Newcastle depleted in terms of confidence at the moment, and various fixtures, like I said, in game week 3 to 7, he could be a very good differential for teams in FPL.
I agree, but I also think he's a bit of a risk in it because, like you said, I think he probably has a bit of certainty, maybe starting the first couple of games, but I think after that, Daniel Marlon could become an issue. And one thing that we probably do know, if he does start early subs, I'm guessing he's going to get around 60 to 70 minutes. How much impact can you make in that 60 to 70? That's up to you taking that risk.
That's fair.
I think the Liverpool dynamic, listen, I think Wirtz is an excellent pick. I think Gakpo is an excellent pick. Having them both, listen, as I said, you expect Liverpool to score goals. I think everyone does. All I'm going to say, potentially, with the Gakpo thing, a lot of people have said if Isak does sign, could that Etekite, however you pronounce his name, move out wide, potentially for some games, and reduce Gakpo's minutes?
That's an option, yeah.
I think another thing that I think a lot of people could potentially say, listen, Wirtz, he looked all right in the Community Shield, but Wirtz is still brand new to the league. Would you not try free up 0.5 from somewhere else and maybe get a Bruno Fernandes? A bit more tried and tested.
I don't like personally Man United's fixtures. I think being a Man United fan, it puts double pressure on me when I'm watching games, and I just feel like with Bruno potentially playing deeper as well, is he going to be involved as much? Is he going to be in that final third as much as we'd want from an FPL standpoint, not from a watching a game standpoint? So I'll leave Bruno Fernandes for now.
The only thing I would say on that, we saw it with Bruno against Fiorentina, for example, the other day. He played a bit deeper. He got the assist for the goal, which is another extra 3 points. And then I think that game he would have come out with 2 defensive contribution points as well on it. So that was a quiet Bruno. Bruno Fernandes that we said probably weren't at his best. Would have walked away with potentially 10 points because you probably would have picked up a couple points in the bonus point system as well. That's something to think about in terms
it's
of
something to definitely think about. It's something to keep an eye on, especially with the way he's going to play now, playing deeper in that midfield, but obviously still being on penalties. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I think Bruno's floor potentially a bit deeper could rise in terms of defensive contribution points. His ceiling could be a bit interesting in terms of being a bit deeper, but we see it with Bruno Fernandes all the time. No matter where he plays, he's always involved in it. So that's something we have to keep an eye on. But I think seeing that midfield, seeing that defense, your forwards are going to be very interesting. So let's get straight into it. Now let's get into a front three. And this is where I think a lot of people are going to have potential question marks. You've gone with Haaland, you've gone with Pedro, and you've gone with Ollie Watkins. Explain your reasoning.
No question marks needed. All we need is exclamation marks if you're watching this video. This is one of the best front threes you're going to see in FPL. Haaland is the forgotten man. No Salah means yes Haaland. Yes Haaland probably means no Salah. So I'm going to go with Erling Haaland because of the fact that I've got 2 Liverpool players and I'm hoping that they are going to contribute massively in the final third. I believe that Erling Haaland is fresh. He's fit. He's coming off the back of a fresh summer after the Club World Cup. And I look at Haaland, right? And, last year wasn't his best season. He was okay, but, he'd expect more. He's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to want to score goals. He's going to want to get Man City back that Premier League title. And when you look at Erling Haaland's first 2 seasons, in the first 6 games, he's averaged, I think, over 5 goals, at least 6 goals in all those 6 games. Some of them games, he's even got 2 goals in. He starts the season very quick. And I think, again, this is going to be no different. He's up against a Wolves team that has been struggling in pre-season. They've lost Cunha, who's their ball-carrying machine. Yes, they signed Arias, who's going to be a threat at 5.5 million for some teams. But I think Wolves are there for the taking. And if Wolves are going to concede goals, Erling Haaland is going to get Man City off to a great start. And, they played Tottenham at home after that. Tottenham have got Thomas Frank as their manager. Yes, they should be more solid defensively. However, at times, they can still be Tottenham. Old habits die hard. I believe Erling Haaland has got a nice set of fixtures that can allow him to get chances, to score goals. And if Man City are going to win games, they need him to deliver. Because yes, they've got Marmoush. Yes, they've got Cherky. Yes, they've got Doku. Yes, they've got Phil Foden that can come back and have a good season. I just feel like Haaland, he gets 90 minutes. He plays up top. My only doubt with him is he going to be on penalties? Because last year in the FA Cup final, we saw that Omar Marmoush took the penalty in the final and missed. Is there a penalty issue at Man City? Will Haaland be on them? I don't know. But I just believe that you've got to pick one of Haaland or Salah. And I'm going to go with the striker. And I'm going to roll the dice. And I do think I'm in the differential market.
I think you are. We've had a lot of discussions privately about Erling Haaland. I think Erling Haaland as an asset, I think I rate very highly. But then at the same time, I'm a bit less bullish on Man City compared to most people, innit? Because I still think City are going through a transitional phase. I still think there's a bit of question marks over kind of what City are building towards, if that makes sense, innit? Because even, for example, today or yesterday, we'll be seeing them linked with Donnarumma. Donnarumma is a completely different sort of keeper to what you would ordinarily, let's say, associate with a Man City, a Pep Guardiola, innit? Which is why I'm I think there's a lot of if, buts, and maybes with Man City right now. Especially you've seen it, they changed their coaching staff.
This is what I like about FPL, Baines, is that there's a lot of if and buts. But if you catch Haaland at the right time, which I'm hoping to do, is that there's a lot of upside. The potential downside is it's a quick removal, and then you could probably upgrade someone to Salah and you downgrade your striker. So I've got a few weeks to work that out. Liverpool play Newcastle second game of the season. Then I believe they've got Arsenal. So I've got a few weeks. I've got insurance on me. So that's how I'm going to play. I'm going to go with Haaland. If I have to change it, I can change it. But I believe that the upside, if Haaland does deliver, could be very positive for the start of my FPL season.
Fair enough. I also do think he'll be on penalties. I think in the Club World Cup, he had a penalty against Al In, I think, some Qatari team, and he obviously took it. The next two, Pedro, I think he might be. I think Pedro has higher ownership than Mo Salah right now in FPL.
That's crazy because minutes risk is a problem for Pedro. I'm hoping that every game he can deliver something for 70 minutes. He is going to get subbed off for Liam Delap. We're seeing it become a normal routine. They're going to have Champions League. I'm concerned by his minutes, but I'm not concerned by the fixtures for Chelsea, I look at them and they do provide opportunity, especially with Crystal Palace, for example, and West Ham in the first 2 games alone. Chelsea have come off the back of a Club World Cup. They've got Cole Palmer and Pedro, the double Ps, linking up very well. Pedro can also take penalties if Cole Palmer's injured or he's not on the pitch. And I do think this is going to be his first season as a proper number 9. And when I say this, he's played as a number 9 at times for Brighton, and I respect it. But when I look at him at Brighton, when he was playing very well, it was more as a second striker behind a Danny Welbeck and coming off, playing off him, playing the pass before the pass or the assist. But now it feels like at Chelsea, he's been brought in to do the all-round game that Nicholas Jackson can provide. But what he has over Jackson is that he can finish. So if he's linking up play and getting involved in the build-up and picking up points that way with passes complete and so forth, but also getting himself in the box, if he can take them chances, Pedro is the type of player that can tick along at like a goal every 2 games, a goal a game at times. So I think it's 7.5 million and what he's done, 5 goals, I think, in 5 preseason games. It's a no-brainer. And I think, it leads me on to Ollie Watkins. I think at 9 million, he's the medium striker at a price point. He's the same as Gyökeres. He's the same as Nearly Havertz and players like that. I think Watkins is a guaranteed starter. He's always contributing for Aston Villa. He's involved, running down the channels, creating assists. Over the last 3-4 seasons, I think he's averaged over 15 goals in the Premier League. He's injury-free. He averages over 35 league games a season. And with Rodgers, Marlon, Unai Emery have a proven Villa team that they know what they're doing and they know their roles. I think you can't really go wrong with Watkins. He's one of them players, you don't have him, he goes and scores 2. You have him, he might score 2 and blank the week after, but you'd rather have him at the start of the season than not have him, because at the moment he's had a very good preseason. He's looking strong. And I just think it's risky to take the move and not have Watkins. People are putting Chris Wood in. I don't think Forest score enough goals. I'd be avoiding him. And, some people want to opt for someone like a Chris Wood over Watkins and do it at your peril. But Watkins, I think he's a must-have.
I think the only thing I say, listen, Watkins, perfectly good asset. I think João Pedro, the 7.5 million price point, I think is very interesting for FPL, isn't it? I think straight away when the game launched, I said to you straight away, I really like the look of Solanke in it at 7.5 with Tottenham's fixtures. But the problem with Solanke, he hasn't really got minutes in preseason. I think he's carried a little bit of a knock. Obviously, they got at the time of recording this, I think today they obviously got the Super Cup. Let's see if he plays. But even then, even if he gets 60 minutes, you're not really confident that he's going to start and get full 90 on the weekend. Yeah. But other than that, I think with João Pedro, like you said, is how many times is he going to get to that 70th minute mark? Liam Delap comes on. Chelsea has so many attackers, Gittins, Estavio, like they're stacked kind of thing, innit?
Jackson hasn't left yet.
Yeah, but he probably will be gone, hopefully, innit? From an FPL point of view, hopefully Newcastle as well. But I think that's kind of my opinion on João Pedro. I think he's a very good asset. I do think he's probably slightly overrated by the FPL community and just the general community with his ownership. But at the same time, he's therefore very useful and a great asset in a way, let's say.
If you look at this team, now you've seen it all, what would you rate it overall out of 10?
See, I'm going to say...
I think you're going to say 7.
I'm going to say, 7.5. Just because, as I said before, I don't rate the Marlon pick that highly.
Yep.
I think Konza could be improved on. But other than that...
And Virgil, you're unsure on, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Virgil, I'm unsure on, but I still think he's a brilliant pick, if that makes sense, isn't it?
Yeah. It could go, there's a lot of upside, there's a lot of downside, yeah. Yeah,
it's just a question mark over Virgil van Dijk. But overall, I think a lot of people will be quite positive on this team. It'll be interesting to see what people say in the comments on Tyrone's team. I'm rating it a 7.5. Let's see what you lot in the comment section below say. But other than that, anything else you want to add?
I will see you at Gameweek 1.
Boy, I'm scared now. I'm scared.
Like and subscribe, people. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Like what Tyrone said. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. And we will be back very soon.